All right, I'm going to take those off because I can see 12 inches in front of me. And hey, welcome everybody. It's Bob, but you probably know that. I am here over here with really special guests. We're going to change things up this week in location-based VR. So I've got Preston Lewis from Blackbox VR, which is an amazing freaking business. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Say hi, Preston. Thanks for joining.
Howdy. How's it going? Hello, all the way from Boise, Idaho. Where are you located?
Actually, I'm right now. I'm in Park City, Utah. I had to think about it. You guys are having some fires up there now, aren't you? Again.
Yep. It's that time of year. But
yeah, fire
nice
season.
weather though.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for joining, dude. Like, we've done a lot here about like games and arcades and family entertainment centers, and there's a lot more to location-based VR than games. Though you've gamified what you're doing, but you're in the health and fitness business, and you've got an amazing pedigree in that space. So let's just start there. Like, how did you get into health and fitness, and talk a little bit about your background? Because most of the people that watch this are entrepreneurs. And so your story is going to be really interesting to them, like abstracted from the virtual reality part.
Totally, yeah. So my personal story is my whole life I kind of grew up with a family of entrepreneurs, and so I got the bug super early. So when I was about 13, started my first business, basically just in the textile industry. Skype was coming online. I got an alpha invite to Skype. And then you had Alibaba coming online, which honestly, I just wish I would have bought a bunch of stock in Alibaba. That would have been awesome because that's doing pretty good. But so those two things were coming online. And as a kid, I was like, holy cow, like this is insane. You can, over the internet, I was basically able to call China, pick up the phone and call China for free, which was wild to me. So I was, I started calling some of these factories in China to get my own kind of clothing and different items and stuff sourced. And when I was 13, I was telling them, oh, I'm 26 and trying to lower my voice and stuff like that, and they're still like, oh, you're so young. And I'm like, I can't tell them I'm 13 then. But yeah, so kind of fast forward, and I built that into kind of an agency, worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, helped drive some of their product strategy and their branding strategy, Hewlett Packard, Hurley, SAP, a few of those, built that to basically a 7-figure business by the time I hit high school, and then went to college and kind of pumped the brakes a little bit, and decided to join up, partner up with bodybuilding.com, where we basically was the world's largest online supplement retailer, and we didn't just sell protein powder. We're trying to reinvent kind of that whole distribution channel, and so 1999, e-commerce was just kind of, had the .com bubble and stuff like that. And, but, e-commerce was the future, as we all kind of hindsight's 2020, we see that now. But, so basically just went all in on figuring out a way to create a system. Oops. Siri's trying to talk to me. How much?
Wow. Oh, crap. Tell that bitch to shut up. She's working.
Can you still hear me? Yeah. So went all in on kind of like a system, right? So instead of just saying e-commerce, we wanted to still focus on kind of like any good entrepreneur or any kind of product market fit, trying to find ways to solve a real problem and even scratch your own itch. And so for me, kind of as I was building my business, I was also into sports. So I was a state champion pole vaulter and kind of was always in the gym. Come from a family of athletes and stuff like that. So I pole vaulted in college for a few years. And so I was always into kind of design and technology and fitness. And so anyways, when I joined bodybuilding.com, we focused on creating all these, obviously not only kind of building the warehouses and shipping the products and fulfilling rapidly and keeping the customers happy that way, but also solving the real problem, which was, helping them transform their lives.
And you guys, like I used it, like you guys had like all kinds of information and videos and blogs about it. And it was really early in the thought leadership, like before it was called thought leadership, you guys, or even content marketing, right? I mean, you guys were really, really early in those days. I found that fascinating.
Yeah, my co-founder now at Blackbox, to jump ahead a little bit, Ryan Deluca, he started it. So he started the company in his garage, and then him and I worked really well together on all the innovation projects. And so we built Body Space. To your point, we built Body Space, which was the world's largest online social fitness network. And so we had about 3 million members there, doing a bunch of workout trackers. And again, to the SME point, we started to really develop the content, and we had a bunch of. It's kind of funny to think about influencer marketing now, because influencer marketing now is what we were doing early days, where we were just basically. We're like, oh, let's just run a fitness competition and it'll be the Body Space spokesmodel search. And, we'll have a bunch of people try out for it. And then the people that win will we had built the platform to a point where we did get a lot of talented folks coming and applying. And so it was this really nice flywheel and compounding effect. But yeah, to your point. So we created that whole system. So again, coming from the technology, the sports and fitness background, selling my company, joining bodybuilding.com, building that with my business partner, Ryan. And then we got to a certain point where we kind of basically said he wanted to retire. He was kind of done with it and wanted to move on. And then I was kind of looking at starting my own thing as well. Because even though bodybuilding was still small, it was getting to the point where it was harder to move fast. And so, I was kind of passionate about this certain project. I'd been messing with VR and kind of exploring the technology and trying to figure out, I'd been kind of thinking about gamification and when I saw VR, when we saw VR, it was like, okay, well, this could be kind of the final frontier, and this could be the thing that finally fully gamifies fitness. And so anyways, then he left bodybuilding.com. I left shortly thereafter, and we remained friends, and we basically just started meeting at Starbucks and kind of saying, hey man, like what could this be? Is it AR? Is it VR? Is it what is it? We wanted to grow where we were planted, and so we wanted to stick with fitness. But we basically just said, okay, well, I think we both were really passionate about VR just because of the full immersion aspect of it.
And before you move off of bodybuilding.com, I just want to acknowledge, as an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, who never got, I've never got within a zero of where you guys got. You got to $500 million a year in revenue. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
30.
Freaking amazing.
Yeah, it was. We had an amazing team. It was really a rocket. It was a wild ride. It was kind of this perfect storm of, like you said, the kind of innovative, influencer marketing, the subject matter expertise, building the platform, SEO, e-commerce, fitness as a trend line, kind of along with the e-commerce trend line, was also growing. So
let's talk about that. Let's talk about fitness as a trend line and this notion of transformation, right? So we hear a lot of stuff now written about the experience economy, right? And so that work came out of some foundational work in 1996 by Pine and Gilmore, and they talked about moving from various, the industrial to the service economy to the information age to this experience economy. But then what they predicted next was the transformation economy. And so we're starting to see these early indicators of moving from the experience economy into these early signals of the transformation economy. And I always use Nike as a great example of that, where they promise transformation through wearables and through activities and through meetups and through events. And they're just crushing it. And so you guys are at this really interesting intersection of that emergence from the experience economy to the transformation economy, and VR, like that Venn diagram in the middle. All I see are dollar signs in the middle. Not that you guys need more dollar signs based on your previous success, but I love seeing people make money, and I think you guys are onto something.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The big thing when we started the company too was kind of, you mentioned that Venn diagram. We actually have that in our pitch deck. We kind of have this kind of this 6-spoke system that we looked at, and we were looking at, I have it right here in front of you, but we wanted to, we saw the growth of esports is a really huge thing, right? So you look at these esports athletes, and they are, I use the quotes on athletes just because, it's not really, I mean, there's the mental acuity piece of it, but
I know a lot of people in my generation do that too, until they actually try to train with some of them. And then you're like, holy fuck, these guys are amazing. Yeah.
It's insane. I know. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, esports is growing at a rapid clip. We have boutique gyms. So we looked at kind of Orange Theories and Barry's Boot Camp and Soul Cycle, and all these different boutique gyms, and millennials are really seeking that kind of unique fitness experience. And so that was kind of the second one. The third one was experiential fitness. So it's social fitness, group classes. You see the rise of Spartan races, Tough Mudder. Those continue to grow. VR that allows players to actually be the center of the action where their body's the controller. And then you look at the fitness side, and fitness has been kind of broken, for many years, in the sense that adherence to a fitness program is so hard, right? We've all been there with the the New Year's resolutions, and you're like, oh man, like I'm going to lose those 10 pounds this year, and it's like, we would look at the graphs every year at bodybuilding, and they just fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
You still hear me?
I can hear you. You're coming through loud and clear.
Yeah, this little note, because I'm wearing these, Siri keeps popping in. I don't know what she's doing. Get out of here. So it's been broken. So the adherence piece of it, because it's boring, it's difficult to do, because everyone knows what they should do, right? And like we always say, and you see like in memes and stuff like that, is like the best workout program is the one that you actually do.
Yeah.
And so it's just
so let's talk about. I want to key in on something you said, because you talked about, you gave all of these examples, like the Tough Mudder things and the and the Soul Cycles and those types of experiences, which are very social, right? And one of the limits of VR right now, at least, is it tends to be isolating. And so, like, how did you look at that? And how are you going to solve for it? Is it an issue? Is it overblown? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
So because we're location based, and we plan on kind of our business model is, and obviously could pivot, being an entrepreneur and being a startup, you never know what's going to happen. But our kind of true north at the moment is basically looking at, obviously solving a real customer problem. We kind of looked at, well, people might not have these setups at home, and they're definitely not going to have the machine that we invented. We have a patent pending resistance machine that's like a proprietary piece of hardware. And so we have to start with location-based entertainment. And so I think we all believe at Blackbox that like the social piece is almost the opposite. Like it can be, because video games can be some of the most social things ever, right? You see, whether it's Joe Schmo or like Drake, right, playing Fortnite, you see it they just blows up, right? It's so social. Yeah. So for us, we look at the social aspect as a huge opportunity, not only to connect people, on a basic social level, but also to boost that main metric we have, which is our core metric, which is increasing workout adherence. And so, to get a little more tactically, we you kind of look at gamification, and all the things you can do with it. With our experience, we built it from the beginning. With a focus on esports. And so it's kind of, a lot of people think, is it a linear narrative? Is it, I play one title and I'm done? And we wanted to create it to be more of a sport. And so it has kind of, you look at football, you look at soccer, you look at basketball, and it's really simple mechanics, right? It's you're throwing, kicking, whatever, a ball through a hoop or a net, or, running with the ball. And so what we were looking at was, okay, how do we create something that's like infinitely repeatable, still feels like a sport, but is our own take on it? And so the core experience of Blackbox is a battle arena. So you actually are in there, and the goal is for it to be eventually synchronous gameplay, to where, I could go in and I could asynchronously play against your profile if I wanted. And if I beat it or lost, We also have a mobile companion app that comes with it, that has all your stats are track over 10,000, data points to workout. And I can ping you socially on that and be like, oh man, you punk, like I couldn't beat you this time. Or we could go real time. We could go, hey, let's go at 10 o'clock and I'm going to beat you. So
that's cool. So I've got the trailer queued up, and I think it would make sense to show the trailer, because I know that I had no idea when I first talked to you guys. It was like, I really had a hard time getting my head around what it was until I went to the website. So let me pop the trailer on.
Sweet. Oh, that gets me pumped every time I watch it. Let's see. I can't. Lost your volume.
No feedback. Sorry. So yeah, I love that video, and what I love about it, by the way, is you're selling the experience. You've done a great job of that, and a lot of companies struggle in this space with selling the experience. They get into the technology and they talk about all of these things that nobody cares about. And you've done a great job in less than 3 minutes of explaining the experience. And what's the reaction been to that video, and how effective has it been for you guys?
Man, we've got a lot of great feedback, because we did an original teaser because the company's 3 years old now. The first, I think, 3 months when Ryan and I started the company, we were like, okay, we want to have some sort of teaser out there. We kind of had a decent idea of what it was going to be, but it was very smoke and mirrors, right? It's like this guy kind of chases this cube down a hallway, and you kind of see him grab something, because we just knew, okay, we're going to have a cable machine. We don't know what it looks like yet. We want it to be resistance training and hit cardio. We don't know what that looks like yet. And so we kind of put that video out there for a year and a half, and had a bunch of people like, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? This is so cool, but tell us what it is. And so kind of my creative brief to the team on this guy was the goal to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. We finally had gameplay. We actually had fabricated our dynamic resistance machine, which is shown in the video. We knew what our arm garments were going to be. We knew we wanted this asynchronous gameplay or synchronous gameplay. We knew there was going to be crystal. So we knew way more. And so the biggest response to it was people saying, holy crap, this is insane. Thanks for showing it, and people getting chills and being like, okay, I want to try this, right? You got to try this. So that's the tough thing. I wish, we kind of always joke, we wish that we could show that teaser, and then you could go to one of 1,000 gyms near you, and you could go actually try it, right?
One step at a time, right?
Yeah. So it's
So I'm going to jump to that, and then we might come back. But since you opened it up, the go-to-market strategy is kind of my thing, right? And so you've created this. You've created the first location, and it's in San Francisco. And so I'm going to do a quick screen share, just to show some images. So this is from Let's see, Chrome tab. Here it is. So this is from the SF Guardian article or SF Gate article, and there's just some images here that I kind of picked up. So this is the location in San Francisco, and it's on Market Street.
Yep, right across the street from Twitter Uber headquarters, right there.
Yeah, amazing. And so, are you finding you're getting a lot of tech people that are like, who's your audience right now?
It's crazy. So that's another thing, being a startup, you don't really know exactly who. You kind of have an idea.
You have to guess.
And we just guessed. And a lot of people are like, okay, you're going to get a lot of gamers, or you're going to get a lot of fitness people. But it was mostly like people saying you're going to get a lot of gamers. And we have analytics showing kind of the pie chart of people that kind of see themselves, or they consider themselves a gamer, and it's all over the board. Like, so we have people come in there for a bunch of the different value props. Some people come in there and they love the video game for sure. I mean, they love the gamers love it because they're like, holy cow, like I can finally like get fit while I play a video game. Awesome. Like, that's the most obvious one. You have the kind of traditional fitness people that are just bored going to a traditional gym. They kind of want to mix it up and they want to have more fun, but they still want it to be based on exercise science. And so we built a product to make sure that it satisfies that group as well. And then you have people that are excited about the fact that we have kind of this advanced artificial intelligence, so you don't need a personal trainer. So, people paying, I don't know, anywhere from $100 to $600 to way more in personal trainers. They're looking at it like, oh, wow, this is way better. And then I guess the last kind of group are people that really love the privacy of it, because when you go to Blackbox, to this location, and we're going to open up one in Boise here and one in Washington, D.C. later this year, you go into your own 10 by 10 private room, and a lot of people love that as well. So yeah, people are really, it's kind of across the board, but people are resonating with it quite well for different reasons. And gamers, I would still say gamers and fitness enthusiasts across that spectrum, whether they're hardcore gamers or whether they're hardcore fitness people, kind of all across that plot, a bunch of different people coming in. Oh, it muted again. I think I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, the dog was barking, so I muted again. So okay. Peter Caddick's asking about, hope you're using CleanBox, and I know you are using CleanBox, and so you give everything a vigorous wipe, and then you put it in CleanBox. And for those of you that haven't seen CleanBox, you can just check out the deep dive that I did with those guys about a month or two ago.
Oh, cool.
How are you finding using their technology?
Oh, we love it. Yeah, I mean, we've put hundreds of people through it, and we actually did a bunch of beta testing across the last 3 years, and that was the number one. Even when we were telling friends and family originally with the idea, the biggest kind of skepticism wasn't from the video game, wasn't from the fitness results, because again, that's kind of where we come from, and so they knew that we were going to stay true to that. But it was the cleanliness, the hygiene, the sanitation, and stuff like that. And so we've worked really hard from the beginning to make sure that was a non-issue. And believe it or not, CleanBox is for sure a go-to. We knew for sure we wanted that in there for peace of mind, for all the value props they have with the UVC lighting, medical grade lighting, kills all the bacteria, like the little air blast. And we just got their version 2. They just came out with the second version that we have in the gym now as well. That's nice, gets the same effects without a compressor. But then it's also a simple thing. So some of the simple things we found is kind of like a traditional gym. We've all even been to a traditional gym where nothing changes, same workout, and you're just sopping wet, and it's just because the temperature of the gym isn't controlled. Yeah. Or you go to some and you feel totally fine. And so temperature control is huge. We developed kind of this sweat wicking, what we call the VR sweatband. We have fans in the room as well. And then
how are you keeping the headsets from fogging up? Because I know that's an issue.
There's kind of like a 3 to probably 4 degree Fahrenheit kind of difference, to where if you go above a certain threshold, if you go into the 70 degree mark in the ambient temperature, headsets will fog. It's not good. And so what we do is completely control that piece of it. And so, we're going hard. Like I will literally, and again, having been a track and field athlete, like in college, like these workouts, I'll lay down on the floor after these workouts, Yeah. And even then I don't have any headset fogging or any of that stuff. So it's all about like the temperature control and the sweat management that way.
Cool. So you opened your first, so getting back to the go-to-market, right? So you opened your first location, obviously you wanted to test it out. Why San Francisco?
Yeah, so we wanted to start San Francisco, kind of back to who we thought was going to resonate with it the most. And so I guess from one standpoint, it was the customers. It was, okay, people that are, early adopters, tech forward, but also there's a huge fitness population, or a lot of population density, and a lot of people that like fitness over there. A lot of gyms, a lot more than you'd expect. A lot of popular boutique fitness areas as well. And on the other side of it was the investors. So when we went to CES in 2018, we almost everyone we met with was like, oh yeah, San Francisco. And because we were between like Seattle, San Francisco, we were looking at LA and stuff like that. So kind of those two things plus pricing and timing and stuff kind of all worked out in our favor. So.
Yeah. And so now is the plan to open more of these yourself and raise money to do that? Or are you looking to franchise it? Or are you going to white label, like how are you going to get to 1,000 locations where somebody can watch the video and go do this anywhere? Like what's the plan? What do you know yet?
So, the thing we want to do is franchise. And so to get the franchise, it's kind of a mix of franchise and corporate gyms. But to franchise, we obviously got to prove traction and stuff like that. And we want to make sure that we can kind of get that package put together for franchisees. And then we are also experimenting with what we call box in a box, which I think is going to be our fastest go to market. Because actually that's the one we're opening in Boise. As I have a college friend that runs a popular gym in a nice part of town down here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do 7 boxes inside of their existing gym. And that's cool. Something where if you get a franchise like a 24-hour fitness or Equinox or whoever it is, that could be kind of one of those things where overnight almost it could be wide distribution. So it's kind of this mix. And the box in the box thing, also one of the cool things I guess I'm going to talk about now is, I don't know if any of you guys watched Showtime Billions, the show Billions. You ever seen that?
I've heard of it, and I heard it was really good. But yeah,
it's an awesome show. But we got contacted by them, and they did a future gym episode, and they wanted to have Blackbox on there. So from that, we got on episode 13 last year, which was really big, and that kind of turned into a relationship with a group of guys that were working with the WeWork. They kind of had exited from WeWork, and they're looking at doing a bunch of high-end gyms called Beyond, BYND. And so they're opening really nice gyms, kind of a brand new fitness model in kind of the major hubs. And so their gym is going to be in Washington, D.C., right across from the Wizards Stadium, and we're going to have a space inside of there as well. So, cool. And then once we get that, once we look at kind of, okay, is the San Francisco, how well is that doing? The box in the box, does that make more sense? And then we'll kind of go from there.
So what's the early traction been in San Francisco? Like, what are you learning and where do you think it's headed? And
it's been great. I mean, the response has been awesome. The retention, kind of the adherence piece has been great. For us, it's kind of like the marketing, the go-to-market stage of any startup, and especially when it's kind of a 0 to 1 type of opportunity you're going after, where it's a lot of consumer education, where you have to tell people like, hey, this isn't We Fit, this is a real workout, and this isn't a VR arcade, where you're going to have 20 titles and you're going to have like a birthday party here. This is like an actual, this is meant to be a supplement or a replacement of like your traditional gym experience. Is the way we built the program. And so
how much of the fact that it's VR is attracting people?
I think that's a big novelty piece for sure, where people, a large amount of people are like, wow, what's this? Like, I want to try it, right? Because that's the thing with the fitness industry is they're kind of coming for the VR, but they're staying for the experience. Is kind of what So what's your conversion rate of people coming to try it to people signing up and staying with it? And talk a little bit about, like, it's a membership model, I assume, right? Because it's gyms. Yeah. So, and we're experimenting with the membership model as well, to where we're having people like we opened San Francisco with a kind of a premium, rate, what we called like the Heroes Access Pass. It was kind of like a founder's rate. And it's $199 a month for unlimited access. And with the Boise gym, we're actually going to experiment with kind of more of a tiered pricing structure to where because a lot of people have been asking for kind of one-off passes, hey, because again, that's kind of a millennial thing. People wanted to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go do my Soul Cycle, then I'm going to go do my Equinox, I'm going to do my various boot camps. So they kind of want this a la carte. So we're going to plan that sandbox a little bit with a few tiered pricing models. We'll see how it goes.
And so as far as like trial to conversion, can you talk about like what those rates are? Like what percentage of the people come in and try it and they're like, holy shit, this is amazing, take my money?
Yeah, I would say it's about, I have to look into the dashboards and stuff, but off the top of my head, about like probably 50%.
You say 50 or 15?
50.
Wow.
Yeah. So people coming in. Yeah. And again, like this is, I think we're looking at a month of data right now. So it's super early days. So, the big thing we're hopeful for is, which I think every LBE is looking forward to, is just like the support of, HTC Vive, the systems.
Don't hold your breath. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's like, man, so we've had to do a lot of, engineering and stuff like that. But it's been fun. That's the other thing that's been really cool. And it's been cool to see companies like, I was chatting with you about it, but I saw the Sandbox VR kind of pitch deck breakdown.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
I was going to ask you if you've spoken to Andreessen yet.
Yeah, they came. Actually, Andrew Chen came and tried it out.
Awesome.
He really liked it, and we're gonna stay connected with them. And once we kind of have some more learnings and show some more traction, like I said, it's super early days. But every kind of over the last 3 years, we've learned a lot, as you can imagine. A lot of VR developers and companies in general are learning just kind of at a rapid clip. So. But no, response has been awesome. And in 2018, kind of to back up a little bit, we went to CES. We were kind of like, let's just go big or go home. And went to CES and had a booth there. Were you at that CES?
I was, but I didn't see you. Like CES is just such a shit show. Getting from one place to another is so hard. I go in with a very surgical strike mentality. If I'm going to see these things, and I knew you were there, frankly, and I just thought it was all bullshit, and so I didn't go because there's so much bullshit at CES that if I tried to track it all down, and I'm like, oh, VR exercise, what about? I've done the exercise bike thing, and I was just like, oh, it was so bad, and what was that one, the flying one? Yeah, like, and I've just like, so I've done a bunch of them, so I just wrote off the whole sector, frankly. Yeah, Icarus until I saw what you guys were doing.
Yeah, so that was really cool. First day wasn't cool because we walked in and if you remember, like they had all that rain, and so the first day we walk in and water had come through the ceiling and followed a power cable down and fried some of our components. So
love trade shows.
Day one and then we had like BBC come in, Today Show, and all these, and so. Long story short, we have a rock star team. And so, they figured it out and we ended up exiting the show with, best startup out of 900 startups. So that was huge for us. I got a ton of PR for that. And then we because we're kind of bridging this gap, we went to, before we started the company, Ryan and I went to GDC, and you go to GDC, Siri's trying to talk to me. You go to GDC and, you see all this really cool tech, right? The newest VR, the newest games, and you're like, holy cow, like this is amazing, like actual tech, right? And game experiences. And then you go to a show like Ursa, which is kind of the traditional kind of fitness club where they sell like the hammer strength machines, the e-gym, the treadmills, the woodways, and all these things. And one of the comments I made when we were walking around that show floor was, I said, I felt like we were Uber walking around a taxi convention. Like a little bit, because it just was like, you look at these things and to your point, they'll say, oh, come try this new virtual reality bike. And it's literally a TV on a bike,
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay. So anyways, after CES, we went back to Ursa because we finally had a viable product, and we, we tested it out there, and our concern there was, okay, are we going to have people in the traditional fitness industry? Because that's where you get the big old huge buff, like bodybuilder guys, right? And are they going to detract, and are they going to think it's a toy? And so with our technology, we use like a servo-based technology that can do 110 pounds per handle dynamically. It can scale the weight up and down at a 0.01 pound fidelity. And so we had this experience where basically every rep you completed, it would increment 1 pound. And so no matter what, you were going to fail out. And so we had the biggest, beefiest bodybuilder dudes just like shaking at the end, like screaming in the booth and stuff like that, and loving it and coming out with smiles. So that was a really cool, validating moment too.
That's awesome. So are you going to do, so one of the challenges, we talked about this on the phone, like one of the challenges and one of the things I'm really impressed with what you guys took on was like, you had to build a whole full stack of new shit, right? So you had to build this hardware device that was going to take a beating in a commercial environment, right? You had to build the content stack. You had to build the whole analytics stack. You had to then put it into a retail environment and build a retail environment and design it and operate it. It's like holy crap! You want to talk about double diamond level complexity startup, and you're doing it all in a technology market that's massively complex because the parts are moving so rapidly and there's so many of them, right? And so consumer perception's changing and the technology's changing, the headsets are changing, the tracking systems, like fuck me. So how are you dealing with all of that, and what are the parts of it that you're finding you're struggling with, frankly, to make everybody else feel better about their stuff that they're struggling with?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, and it's going to sound cliche, but it's for sure the team. Like any startup book that you read, and if you've had a successful startup or if you had a unsuccessful startup, you just know you get those rock stars, and it's just like, thank you, because there's like you said, it's a can of worms, right? Like we had a certain point where we were building a hardware machine, so we knew that okay, we want to create a game experience, but like we want to provide real resistance, and so we knew we were going to have a hardware machine, and so we basically, we've never built gym equipment before, right? But it's one of those things where you just get scrappy and you kind of stack. You do a bunch of research, right? You just learn through osmosis. You just kind of like drink from the fire hose. We're reading a bunch of books, talking to a bunch of people, going to a bunch of trade shows, and to kind of pause that for a little bit for anyone that's watching. I think as a founder or just an aspiring entrepreneur, just that consumption of that context and content in the specific industry you're trying to either disrupt or borrow from is super, super important, because it allows you to kind of have the sandbox and decide whether or not you want to play within that sandbox and differentiate, or if you want to play completely outside of that sandbox. And so that's something that we did, is we just kind of we're just taking all this education in. And then, one of the things, I had a machine that I worked on in college that did some rudimentary things, right? And it kind of gave us a light bulb where it was like, okay, well, it counted your reps, it provided dynamic resistance-ish. And so it was kind of like, okay, well, let's riff on that, right? And so then we hired, a hardware person, and then we were like, okay, well, video games, we want to make sure we have the right compulsion loops. We want to make sure it's not just some little wackadoodle thing where we just throw a bunch of achievement badges.
So you just use the word compulsion loop, and I talk about core loops all the time, and a compulsion loop is a type of core loop that gets you to do it over and over and over again, right? It's the thing at the middle of the free-to-play mobile gaming, like Farmville and whatever, those Fruit Ninja and all those games that make addiction. I'm fascinated to hear you use that term.
Yeah, so that's again kind of just something that we've learned along the way, and also we hired a bunch of really smart people in the industry. We have someone on the team that Jim, basically, he sold his company to Konami back in the early days where they were porting games over to, Frogger and stuff like that over to mobile. So, really smart guy there. A guy on the team that worked at Intel for many years and kind of had his own game studio. So our team is really smart. And then Ryan and I just try to, as the founders and owners of it, we just are like, okay, we just need to consume all this data and try to get those insights, and those aha moments. And so back to the core compulsion loop stuff, we knew our goal was to increase adherence. We knew, we had a hypothesis that like VR, being this immersive technology, will allow people to be the avatar. And then we wanted to layer on the correct gaming methodologies. And so we have our core compulsion loop, which is progressing through arenas. To progress through arenas, you have to collect trophies. Every win, you get 100 trophies. We have secondary compulsion loops. And we want to also kind of keep the ecosystem going, like, because you're only in the gym 3 times a week for 30 minutes. And so we have the mobile app where you're in the mobile app, you're talking to your friends, you're encouraging your friends, you're sending them care crates, and you're doing all these things. So it's kind of the big ecosystem. We wanted to make sure you have that.
So you're connecting the offline mobile experience back into the on-premise experience, which is something in the amusement industry people have been talking about forever. If I had $1 for every company telling me they were going to do that, I'd be able to get a couple of good cups of coffee. But nobody's doing it. It's hard. And so, talk a little bit about that. What are the challenges? What have you figured out, if you're willing to share any of that information?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. So, so let me just show you this really quick. I don't know if this will show, and I can send you screenshots.
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is the mobile app. So this is my avatar right here. Oops, I just clicked in. So, so this is your avatar. So you level up. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm a hero level 24. I have my trophies, and then it's things where like, you kill a certain amount of crystals, you get a crystal chest, you open that, you get champion cards and stuff like that. So it's fully gamified. I mean, this does not look like a workout app, right?
Yeah.
But then, so I got a power up, which is pretty cool. And then if I go down to my stats down here, this is where the fitness people kind of freak out, because you have all your charts. So this is like my chest press fire beam. And it's showing my 1 rep max trended over time. Wow. All of this stuff is automatically tracked from the system. We're tracking over 10,000 data points every workout. And so it's kind of set it and forget it. And it automatically levels you up without you actually, you never, in the gym, you have a cable machine, you pull the pin out, you put it in the next one, you write it in your book, maybe. This is all automated. The whole game is built around giving you progressive overload that gives you hypertrophy, which gives you lean muscle mass, which makes you look good and feel good. But you don't have to think about any of that. You just play the game.
So I just put a poll up there. I want to know, like, based on this, who would invest in this company right now based on what you're hearing? Because I know I would, but kind of curious to what everybody else is thinking out there. I think you guys have done an amazing job. And it's really a game changer, because look, how big is the fitness industry in dollars?
36 billion.
36 billion.
It depends. Like, just the supplement industry itself is 32 billion, so it's massive.
It's massive. And we're entering into this this going from the experience economy to the transformation economy. And the biggest problem people have is just showing up. It's the number one problem. And you're hacking that psychology in a really simple way that people are going to relate to and have fun with, to get them to freaking show up. Like, you've cracked. You're like, no, I'm not saying that the rest of it's easy, right? Because obviously there's a shit ton of execution that has to happen between now and whatever. But it feels like you guys have like solved the core problem. And this is my problem with VR, is so few people are solving problems with it, right? Everybody kind of creates these experiences that don't really. They're solutions looking for a problem, and you guys actually have solved a problem. So really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and to the point with the kind of work to be done. I mean, we feel really good. So one of the little stories I was going to tell you kind of asked, like, what are some of the insights? So because we don't have these huge swaths of data, what we wanted to do was show that there was proof in the pudding, in the sense that we wanted to do a real fitness study. And so what we actually did is we shipped our machine over to New York and worked with Brad Schoenfeld, who's one of the world's leading exercise scientists. And we tested 8 weeks of Blackbox VR against 8 weeks of like a traditional gym workout. And kind of fast forward, we didn't test adherence, because obviously these people are being paid to come try it. We just wanted to test the actual physical fitness results, and it matched in a third of the time. It matched traditional fitness results. So, for example, 30 minutes we were doing Blackbox, 30 minutes 3 times a week, and the other group was doing 90 minutes 3 times a week, and we match the fitness results in a third of the time. And so that's the other thing is like there's so many problems with fitness. There's the adherence where it's boring. There's the fact that it's just like takes too long, and people always have an excuse saying like, I'm just not gonna, I don't have time. I have kids, I got a demanding job. So what we said is like, we wanted to build a program based on exercise science that all you need is 90 minutes of Blackbox workouts per week. So 3 times, 30 minutes, you're in and out, and you're gonna get 80% of those. You're gonna get the full amount that the government recommends for your physical fitness, but you're gonna get like the 80% of the actual kind of what the bodybuilders get, stuff like that. So, and kind of the second story was anecdotally my sister, who, her whole life has been asking me like, oh, let's go to the gym, and like, help me out. Like 2 weeks in, every time she's like, I'm sick, or whatever, like, I don't want to get crap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But she just, it was, and I wouldn't blame her, because it's just not fun, and it hurts. And it's the opposite. It's not a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
It's you hurt, you physically. And you see
no results right away, and you see no positive results immediately, right?
Yep. Yeah, you look down, you're like, where are my abs? I don't have abs yet. It's been 2 weeks. Like, I'm out of here. So she came into Blackbox, and again, she just said, okay, what do I do? And I basically just told her, here you go. I'll give you the keys to the beta gym. I'll show you how to play the game in 15 minutes. And then, you're just going to have to come whenever you can come. And, here's the app, download the app. No joke. 8 weeks later, she'd gone 3 times a week, every single week for 8 weeks. And I looked at her strength charts, and she increased every single one of the 6 compound movements by 200% in her strength, which is insane. So like adherence was proven. So anecdotally, and even us on the team, it's definitely proving out. It's just our biggest challenge is, as you mentioned, kind of like adding those kind of continuing to solve those problems, add what we call in the game industry calls like the juiciness, right? Making it like switching it up and stuff like that. Yep. And then dealing with the hardware and making sure that it's supported and it's stable and all that stuff. But wave the magic wand, and the actual framework that we've built has been pretty mind-blowing as far as how people are resonating with it and the results we're getting. So
yeah. Now you guys had had a successful exit from bodybuilding.com and so had access to capital. Like, can I ask? Well, I'm going to ask. You don't have to tell me. Like, what was the budget for this? Like, because I know companies are like bootstrapping stuff like this, and they're really struggling. And I want to kind of just put an order of magnitude, like how many zeros, did you really need to get this thing to this stage? Because, that full stack, it had to be expensive.
Yeah. So a lot of people we've talked in the industry as far as like biting off a chunk of your own private, game, right? The whole content and the publishing piece of it. Obviously hiring the team, building your own patent pending hardware device, and the San Francisco premium location build out. So basically we started with kind of a budget of around like 2 million. And we've hit a little bit above that. But because we decided to open, we didn't know we were going to open in a premium location. That was something where we decided to just go, okay, like again, we'll go big or go home type of thing. So,
yep.
But in that ballpark, and
you guys got a lot of bang for your buck, because like when I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about all the mistakes that entrepreneurs make and stuff like that, and no revenue. It's not like you were able to offset costs with early revenue. I'm assuming that this was pure burn up until opening your first location.
Yep.
That it feels like a $5 million project to me. So, just want to go like that. So you guys have gotten a lot of bang for your buck. Well done to the team.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of hard work, but also like we've gotten really lucky on some of the connections and things that we've made. The people that did our machine, I just had a college buddy that just happened to be literally in our exact same business park that we opened our office in here in Boise. And he knew a hardware company, an engineering company that had like some people from Tesla and stuff like that. And so like we kind of skipped we were able to kind of leapfrog a few things there. And
So that's what, like, one of the things I would have recommended if we were working together. The first thing I would have said is, let's go find a company that builds exercise equipment and recruit them into the hardware piece. Like, I'm sure you guys considered that. What made you decide to build versus buy?
I think it was just like the proprietary, like, kind of nature of it. You know, we needed, there was no one that was going to, and actually we kind of did buy in a sense, right? Because we are literally, I'll have to show you some pictures, but like our first prototype was literally like kind of a home gym kind of rack, and we just gutted the weight stack out of it, and we kept the pulleys and the handles, and we had like HTC Vive controllers like screwed onto the end of the handles and things like that. And we just kind of created our own motor, because we needed like some sort of servo motor that was going to be dynamic, that could respond real time to the game action. Like you see in the teaser video, as he does a chest press, it shoots the fire beam out. And as he does the shoulder press, it shoots the meteors and stuff like that. We needed something that was going to be able to scale the weight up and down smoothly and a very large delta. You know, and there was nothing really out there that was off the shelf. But that's not to say we didn't use off the shelf stuff, because in our kind of patent design, we do have, you know, we're using a servo motor. We didn't like invent the servo motor. And
right.
You know,
yeah. So one of the things you put in the notes that you sent me beforehand was this notion of like the power of VR and pain tolerance and burn victims and PTSD, like its ability to kind of hack your cognition. Talk about that a little bit, and how are you utilizing that power in your experience?
Yeah. So the big one, so the burn victims and stuff with VR, you know, that if any of you guys aren't familiar with that study, it's mind blowing. We actually flew the guy up from, or down, I guess, from University of Washington that did that study. But what they did is there was these burn victims that had to do skin stretching every day, which is, I guess, just super, super painful. And they usually just give them morphine for the pain tolerance and pain management, I should say. And instead, they hypothesized that, okay, well, maybe if we can distract them in a virtual environment, like we could, maybe there'll be some sort of offset. And so what they did is they did just that. They built a game where, you know, this boat's going down this like icy river, and these little, you throw these little snowballs at these penguins and stuff like that. And they found that it was just as effective at pain management as morphine, which is insane.
So this is really interesting to me, because, you know, the power of distraction is what drives a lot of our behavior, right? Alcoholism, drug addiction, social media addiction, all of that is distracting ourselves from whatever pain it is existentially that we're feeling. And so it's really interesting when you tell that story. That's all I can think of, is really just distracting people from whatever that pain is, whether it's physical or emotional, is super powerful, and VR can do that. Wow. Absolutely.
Yes. And so, we kind of joke as well. We say, you know, like maybe you don't have to feel the burn, right? In Blackbox, in the traditional fitness industry, they say, oh, feel the burn. Yeah. There's like kind of this glorified, like, okay, like make it hurt. And like, that's a good thing.
No pain, no gain, right?
Yeah. And so, but that doesn't have to be the case, right? And in fact, the more you can push through the pain, the more likely you are to level up in our game, but also level up on a physiological level and get the hypertrophy and the cardiovascular endurance and things like that. And so, so that was one of our biggest hypotheses, was like, you know, one, we wanted you to embody the character, right? Have that whole embodied presence. That's like the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of VR, but also look at that distraction, like you're mentioning, as a way to avoid boredom and monotony, and also the pain of every single rep, thus allowing you to push harder, thus allowing you to get more bang for your buck, as far as 30 minutes, getting an hour and a half of a traditional fitness experience. And so, so I think, your body being the controller, we always say, you getting to be the hero, all the data that we're tracking to where as you level up physically, you're leveling up your character. And then also the added benefit of time dilation and pain tolerance.
And so when you talk about the embodying the avatar, How do you do that? Because so one of the things that I thought Dreamscape did really well in their experiences, when you put on the gear and you put on the headset, you see a virtual mirror and you see yourself as an avatar and your friends, and they're all different colors. And I know, my friend was standing here, now she's purple. So when I get into the game without having a name floating over it, which breaks the immersion, I know the purple person is my friend. They've done one of the better jobs of that kind of embodiment of the avatar. How do you guys do that?
So for us, we have, it's pretty straightforward with ours, kind of a typical VR pattern. We basically have, I forgot, I guess I haven't mentioned it. So one of the problems we had to solve is because you're grabbing a physical cable machine, we had to give you hands-free VR. And so we invented, I think, what were the world's first hands-free VR controllers, where we, had one of our engineers go to the Steam tracking class, and we built kind of these pucks. They ended up coming out with the HTC Vive puck anyways. So we were like, okay, well, scrap that project, which was awesome because it saved us a lot of money. But essentially we found a way to mount those to your hands. In the teaser, you'll notice he kind of does that, and he's got like this little puck right here. So what that does is it gives you kind of these floating forearms for your hands. And then we just use inverse kinematics and stuff like that to do a lot of the biometric stuff. But that's one of the things.
Do I see myself in a mirror? Like, how do I see myself and my progress within my avatar? Do I just see my arms, or do I, is there some do I see this beast guy that motivates me?
Yeah. So you, sure. When you get out, you take your shirt off and you look in the mirror and you're all buff. Exactly, real life. Yeah. So you have, I think that's a great idea. I think we've, so right now you just see your forearms, you see your opponent across the field, you see the scoreboard, so you see your name, your stats, stuff like that. You see all your champions, which are the guys you kind of put on the field. If you've ever played Clash Royale or any of those types of card games and whatnot, you put those guys on the field, you build them with your punching and slicing. But then once you go into the app that I was showing you, that's where you see your actual avatar, and you can see, them increase in size or unlock new achievements or awards and all sorts of things. So cool. But yeah, eventually it'd be really cool to kind of be able to see, on some big screen, see yourself or something.
Cool. So Victor's asking, we should talk about this a little bit, just the operations part of it. So, so how many boxes do you have in the San Francisco gym? Do people reserve them, and how long does it take you to turn one over, like cleaning and stuff like that? What are just the nuts and bolts of the operation?
So we have about a 10-minute clean turn time. We have what we call hero trainers on staff. And so they basically go in, wipe everything down, put if the clean box hasn't been put in, if the HMD hasn't been put in the clean box, they'll do that, wipe everything down and, swap things out, make sure the pucks are charged and all that stuff. That's like we budgeted about 10 minutes to make that swap, which is usually more than enough time. And then we have 14 booths. So we have 14 10 by 10 rooms in there. And that magic number came from us looking, again, back to the boutique fitness side, where we looked at Orange Theory and we said, okay, well, we want to make sure that, if Bob is coming to put his money in an Orange Theory and get this ROI, or he's going to put it into Blackbox VR and get this ROI, we need to make sure that the throughput in general is kind of the same, right? And so what we did is, on average, Orange Theory, because it's an hour class, they can do about 26 to 28 people. And so we basically cut that in half and decided to do 14 boxes that way. But we're getting a lot more efficient with square footage. We've iterated on our booth sizes. We thought first we needed 10 feet. Now we found a way to design it down to 8 feet. So we're always looking ways to increase our throughput.
Yeah, that reduces your rent by 20%, which is probably your biggest fixed cost, right? So, yeah, absolutely, that's amazing. And so, and you charge a subscription, so they could, like you said, you're starting with 200. They can come however, but you recommend 3 times a week. Do they have to book their slot in advance? They have like a reservation system, or?
Yeah. So that all happens through, and again, kind of the Uber economy or whatever. Yeah, that we're in. Like people just. They don't want to go talk to Chad. They don't want to go into Gold's Gym and talk to Chad and be sold for an hour on a membership. They just want to go in and check in. So yeah, in the app, same kind of thing. You have this little schedule thing down here. Yeah. And then let's see. It's kind of, there we go. Yeah, so you can see it right now. You can choose your gym. So that's our beta gym right there. I tap that, then you click book now, you know, and then allows you to check in, and then it gives you your booth number. And so that was kind of what was wild as an entrepreneur, you know, as Ryan and I were sitting there in the lobby of our first VR gym in San Francisco and sitting on the couch, and no one knows we're the owners or founders. And we're just kind of sitting there talking, and you see, you know, a hero, we call them heroes, you know, our customers. Hero comes in, they're looking at their app, they're checking in, they're grabbing their little like armbands, they have their VR sweatband on, and they go right into their booth. You hear them grunting, and they come out sweating, and they're done. And it's like, oh man, it's so cool. So that's one of the things we think that will allow us to scale the business on a much more efficient rate, make it much more attractive, is keeping the headcount low by automating a lot of those things with the mobile app.
Cool. And so if you're running a 30-minute session and about a 14-minute turnover, do you open them up for booking every 45 minutes, or do you leave yourself a lot of slack and do one session an hour per booth?
No, they're basically, I think they're on the 40-minute increments. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we've been playing with that as well, you know, because just like any other kind of, even just thinking of a warehouse throughput, kind of just seeing where our efficiencies are and trying to crunch the scheduler down to allow that. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I got to tell you, I'm color me impressed. I don't impress easy. Everybody knows that. I also haven't done it yet. So I'll just like, you know, I'll be like, but I'm going to come. I was like, shit, if this shit works, I'll just come spend a month in San Francisco just to try to get my fitness back on the right curve. So
I'm telling you, man, if you did it, well, let me know if you're going to go down there or when you're going to go down there, because I'd love to be down there. And I'm not kidding. Like a lot of people, again, back to the customer education piece of it, like I will literally lay down afterwards. Like, because if you start to care about those compulsion loops, you start to care that like if you don't push yourself as hard as you can go, your hero level is going to go from a hero level 24 to a hero level 23. You don't have the bragging rights. You can't unlock the same champion cards. And so you will push hard.
I know. Look, like even just Streak apps, like there's this app called Streak. And it's like, you know, how many days have I not had sugar? And it's like, oh shit, I really want a candy bar, but I'm not going to do it because I've got a streak going. And so it's really powerful psychology that you guys are tapping into. What's the last question? What's this thing cost? So if, like, I know you've got these boxes and you're starting to put them in other places. So do you have a rough like cost / licensing model yet that you're experimenting with that you can talk about, or?
Not yet. It's still a little early for us on that because we're still looking at things like do we want to stick with the HTC Vive headset or do we want to do different things there? But I will say, you know, we're queuing up strategic partnerships because I don't think it's any secret that eventually we want to go to the at-home market. And so, you know, to do that, we're definitely, as far as our hardware costs are concerned with the machine, we're right in the ballpark of kind of your traditional like enterprise level, you know, hardware machines in the gym with like 10x as far as the amount of functionality it has. So that's good. We didn't have to spend 10x of the price to get there. But then to get to at home, you know, you want to be more in the Peloton 3,000, maybe to 5,000 range. And so, you know, we have some partnerships and stuff we're still waiting on, you know, holding in our back pocket until we can get some more learnings. But yeah, the streak thing, man, I was on an 85 session streak, which means like I hadn't missed a workout since basically January 1. And my wife and I just went on vacation. And so I had to be like, take off the crown. Man.
You get a mulligan in your streak. You got to get a family vacation mulligan in the app, like one a year or something, right?
I know.
Like keep the streak.
Exactly.
Charge $20 for that. Like
Exactly. Yeah, that's the fun thing too, is we can do IRL. So we want to do like, you know, you can unlock a t-shirt, you can unlock, that's the other thing with our gym. We actually have free protein, free pre-workout, free power-ups, we call them. So, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation as far as the merchandising and kind of the fun stuff we plan on doing.
Yeah. Fascinating. Sure. So, well, yeah, you know, Dominica is saying, come to VR days. I'm curating helping curate the media arts and entertainment track at VR days again this year. So, love to have you there, give a presentation. It's in Amsterdam in November. And so it's it's the biggest VR conference in Europe, probably. and it's it's a great time, and it's in Amsterdam. So
yeah, never been. I'd love to go. Yeah,
depending on how your streaks are going, maybe we can get you there. So
yeah, well, if we bring a machine, I can keep it alive. So cool.
Awesome. Well, Preston, really appreciate taking time out of what I can't imagine is a hectic schedule to share some of your experiences and the wisdom that you're gaining through this whole process. It's really amazing.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the chance to talk about it. It's always fun.
Yeah, cool. So you guys know the rules. Share this with your friends. You'll get the replay soon. We'll see you on YouTube, and we will see you next week with somebody. I have no idea who that's going to be either. I think it's actually it might be Brandon Nades from Talon Systems, who does motion simulation stuff. They worked on the it's not Brandon. Who is it? My producer just stepped in. Oh, that's right. Next week, I'll be coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas, from the Room Escape show, and I'll be interviewing Crystal Ho. Anyway, it's going to be somebody. Whatever. I'll send out an email. Dude, thanks for joining us. I have no idea what I'm doing. We fly by the seat of our pants here in the deep dive. And we'll see you guys all with somebody amazing next week.
Sounds good.
Take care.